and we'll kind of get going. And hi, Janine.
Hi.
All righty, and let me go into share screen with our PowerPoint for tonight, and we'll chat about this stuff. All right, can everybody see that? Are you seeing a PowerPoint slide?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So week 3, we're here. You did it again. Made it to week 3. So basically halfway through, or at least as far as the calls go, not having completed week 3 yet, but just heading into the 3rd week. And just wanted to kind of take a quick look here at what we've done so far along the way. Talked about product knowledge and, using that to maximize sales, which of course are, always an important thing, but in some ways even more importantly, bookings, because of the power, people have shows for a lot of different reasons. I think the 2 main ones really are because it's fun and they want to do that again and have fun with their friends, and because of the products that they can get. But the incentive in getting our great host benefits comes when there are products that they want. If we're willing to give them a bunch of free stuff, but there's nothing they want, that free is not a big draw. So the more that they are interested in getting and don't want to spend the money on, that's where those host incentives are actually something that's going to motivate somebody to want to take advantage of them. So where you're looking at your product knowledge and your ability to share that and the benefits of the products to people effectively to increase your bookings. Definitely the part about belief, that deciding what you believe you can and cannot do, and the effect that has, which is, really unquestionably powerful in terms of the results that we get. Had some talk about talking to people at shows, outside of shows, and ways to kind of work that into your routine, and definitely getting your passion, letting that come through, and your the way that you, again, going hand in hand really with belief, as far as that being something that is a little bit less tangible perhaps than the how a food shopper works, but really as, if not more important than that, because of the effect that has on people and the way that they kind of feel and pick up on your feelings about what you're sharing. So today we're going to move into host coaching, having talked about products and bookings, and host coaching really being just the partnership that you have with your host to have a great show for both your sake and theirs, because that's definitely going to be a driving force in both your sales and bookings and recruiting. So not both, those are 3 things. So all 3 things going into. This is a saying that I remember hearing years ago that I thought was really interesting, and I think there's a lot of truth to it, that host coaching is where you earn your paycheck. You go to the show to pick it up, because you really lay the groundwork ahead of time, and the investment of time and the effort that you put into host coaching has such a huge impact on shows that it really is the foundation when it comes to it. And some of what we're going to look at here now is more about cooking shows, but really virtual shows, although the details are going to be a little bit different, the impact is the same, and partnering with your host and making sure that they kind of know what to do to have a great show, feel comfortable with you, they're excited, and they're kind of working with you on that. So how do I coach my hosts effectively? I'm glad you asked. And as with some other things, it's an interesting combination, because we've got Christina relatively new and Janine with a lot of experience. So you guys are probably at sort of different places in terms of what you're doing, your knowledge of this, how well you feel like you're doing it. If you do feel like you're host coaching effectively, the measures, I would say, of whether you're host coaching effectively are attendance at your shows, bookings, and sales, and really sales coming from both attendance at the shows and outside orders. So if you look at all overall, if you have $1,000 show average and you average 5 bookings per show, you're probably host coaching pretty effectively, and we could just stop right now, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, if your show average and your booking average are not where you'd like them to be, host coaching is definitely something to examine. And if you are not doing it, do it. If you are doing it and you're not getting the results that you want, then you might want to look at, hey, what do I want to try that would be a little bit different from what I'm currently doing? All right, so host coaching really starts at the party. Now, again, this could be a live or a virtual party. The details of things on this screen have to do with live coaching shows. But the idea of booking or host coaching starting with the party that a person is currently at, if it's a team from a party. Christina, are you still there? We just can't see your face. Oh, there you are. Okay.
My screen was still. I didn't see the slides.
Okay. All right.
I was like,
I just didn't wanted to stop for a second if you need to catch up with us. So anyway, these are all things that apply to cooking shows. Now, Christine, I don't think you've done any cooking shows yet, right? But I know that you want to, so you're gonna find some people that want to do that. And once you start doing them, then you're gonna keep getting bookings because it's really fun and people are gonna realize it. But I know you started out with online parties, so that's kind of been what you've been doing. And a bang up job, might I add, of your online parties. So good for you. But starting at the party really means that you want to kind of, again, be laying the groundwork for this and the expectations right away when they book their show. So you would carry host packets with you, giving them some catalogs along with that. Really you want them to have enough catalogs. You're going to host coach them to get outside orders, and that means they need to have catalogs to share. And this is the same thing with virtual parties. Online parties are great, and a lot of people will be involved there and order online. But every host that has an online party also has friends and family and coworkers and neighbors and people at church that are not online or that they are not friends with on Facebook. So they're missing out on a lot of other additional sales if you're not working with your host to be bringing in some additional orders with catalogs from either people that are not on Facebook or they're just not comfortable shopping online or whatever that might be. They can give the orders to you to put in. They can put them in themselves like the host can if that person doesn't want to do it online, but getting some catalogs out there are well worth it. The third one says fill out their fridge reminder sheet. Now, this stuff, that particular comment and some of the things we're going to look at here in a second are from a director named Jennifer Courtney. Christina probably never heard of her. I don't know. Janine, I don't know if you have. She's been around for a long time. I've been to some of her training type of stuff. She's very good, very
kind of sounds familiar, but
yeah. And she actually is the one that put together this 6 Weeks to Success program. I have kind of changed it up a little bit and, kind of gone through it. And I really like her, her overall premise, so I'm not that different from it. But I have changed some stuff, but that's why this host coaching one, she's really given examples of her own host coaching, but I got to tell you, she's incredibly successful. So I thought I'm going to just include all that and we'll take a look at some of the things she does so that if it's an idea or something that you think you might like to try out, clearly it's effective for her and like for you as well. The fridge reminder sheets, I'm going to post those in the Facebook group after we're done here. The only thing I noticed about them is they're very busy. Like it's a full sheet of paper with a ton of information on it. That kind of like made my eyes go a little buggy when I looked at it. But it's obviously working for her. And she has a version for cooking shows and one for virtual shows. It's kind of reminders of things for them to do as they go along. So again, I'll post that and you can take a look at it and see what you might like to do. She talks about, this is her $1,000 show kind of formula is inviting 40, meaning 20 will say yes, which means 15 will show up, and then 10 outside orders. So you're looking at 25 orders, which usually is a $1,000 show. Not any guarantees, but if that's the approach that you're taking, then that's very often the result that you're going to pretty consistently get. So communication is really what host coaching is all about. And there are a lot of different ways of doing that, different forms that it can take. But for people who host who don't have a great experience, maybe don't have the show that they would like, the thing that they typically kind of come away from it feeling is that they didn't really know what to do to have a great show. So that communication with your host is really, that's all host coaching is. So, we're going to kind of look at just really the things that you can do to make sure that you're, again, working smarter, not harder. You're going to go do that show anyway. You might as well have the best sales possible so that you're getting a paycheck out of it because you're putting the same effort into it. Again, identical with virtual parties. You're doing the same thing for a virtual party, whether it barely makes $200 or is $1,000. So, definitely bringing in things that can make a difference just makes sense. And which show would you rather do? And which show would your host rather have? not only for the things that they get right now, but the experience that they have. They're going to be telling their friends, oh my gosh, you guys, look at all this stuff. I mean, literally, sometimes they'll post it. You could encourage your host to do that. When her order comes in, take a picture of it and post it on Instagram or on Facebook. Let people know what they got from having a show. So when you've got a host having a great show and a really good experience and getting a ton of stuff, that is not only great for the current show, but that can build future business because of the kind of referrals and the way that your host is an advocate for you. So host coaching is basically looking at it this way. It's taking somebody that's blindfolded and you're trying to walk them through making a basket, playing basketball, and they need you to tell them what to do. So as it says here, Shaq could probably do it. And the thing is, it's not impossible. People might do that, and just as a fluke, it would work. So even if you don't host coach, you're going to occasionally have good shows because you got a host that knows what to do, or they're motivated, or they're just friends want to buy a bench pampered chef stuff with or without you. The thing that host coaching does is it creates an environment that's going to be much more consistency in the results that you get. Now, while it could happen without host coaching, at the same time, host coaching doesn't guarantee that you're going to have good results. But at least you'll walk away from it knowing that you did everything you could, and you're doing that consistently with every single host, and it's going to mean that your results become much better and consistently better. And when things don't go well, at least you know that it wasn't because you dropped the ball, so to speak. No pun intended there, with old basketball analogy. So again, this is kind of going through the same thing. Your likelihood is going to be, a whole lot better when somebody is telling the host what to do, rather than expecting that they're just going to know what to do and have done it before and be experienced and do a good job. And you don't even need to say a thing. Where really what you want to do is make sure that you're helping your host to have that great party. Now, this is also Jennifer Courtney's kind of walking through her host coaching thing. And I'm not going to read through every bit of this. This is going to be posted. In fact, I may just post this particular slide so that you have time to go through it without having to watch the whole replay of this recording. And I think it's a couple things I thought were interesting, though. She emails her hosts every Monday the next step for their party. So she has a plan. And the thing about this is that you can kind of automate all this stuff. Once you get into a routine, it's not that it has to take you a whole lot of time. And you can have, you copy and paste, and so you're not reinventing the wheel with every show. Using Red Stamp invitations. I don't know if you guys have used that. It's an app where you can make invitations really easily. And so you can do that setup. And this can, again, be for a virtual or a Facebook or cooking show. You send it to the host, and it's something, basically a picture that they can text or email or post on Facebook or what have you. Looking at, she's talking a little about recipes here, mailing catalogs, and going over the host benefits with them before leaving the party, but after the party, but before you leave. And Janine, I'm sure this is something that you are already doing, probably, where you would sit down and say, you've got, $480 in sales. So far, you have this amount of free and these half price. And this is where it could go at the next level. We've got a lot of potential for outside orders. On average, you can, look at getting $200 to $300 in outside orders after the party from people that weren't able to come. And what's that going to mean in increasing your thing? So that all goes to host coaching. So we're looking at it starting from when the party is booked to when it closes. This is another one that I'm going to post so that you can look at it in a little bit more detail without us going through every one of them. Is there anything on there that, kind of stands out to you guys as far as something you don't understand or are already doing or like the idea, anything like that? Other than the grammatical error on number 7 that I just noticed, which I should have corrected before using the slide.
Yeah. It's hurting my eyes.
What was your question?
Oh, I just said there's a grammatical error on number 7. It says, how is the outside order? It should say, how are the outside orders coming in? And I didn't catch it in make that correction when I was editing the PowerPoint presentation a little bit. But the concept is what's important, not the grammar.
Okay.
A couple things that I would point out. One of them is she says, has anyone said no yet? Now, if you invite 40 people, there are going to be some that say no. And it could be similar with a virtual party if someone, is just not, participating or what, kind of says no or is not involved. And has anyone said no? And did you ask them for an outside order? Did you ask them? What I would say is probably, did you ask if they'd like to see a catalog, something like that. But definitely asking how those outside orders are coming along, because that is something that most hosts don't just do on their own. And again, live cooking show or virtual, they kind of figure, well, people want to order, they're going to order. But the reality is that getting in touch with people and saying, hey, did you want to see a catalog? Is there anything I can help you with, or that Jill can help you with, or what have you, makes a huge difference in them kind of following up with that and getting those outside orders. And the host coaching for outside orders is huge, just because most hosts won't be proactive about that without some encouragement for us. And then, I think the last couple questions are really good ones too. Who's coming that could use some extra cash? A lot of times your host will know who of the guests, whether virtual or live cooking show, maybe just lost their job, or, their car just broke down, or they don't like their job, or they're home with kids all day and would like to get out of the house. Your host will often know those things about their friends and might be able to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, so-and-so might be interested in learning more about this. And then number 10, always, always, always asking, have you ever thought about doing what I do? Or some form of that, and make sure that your hosts know that this is an opportunity that they can do too. Not only at the time of their show, but they can earn some income. They can get the bookings from the party that's taking place right now to start their business. They can use some kit credit toward the kit if they would like to do that. All those sort of things are an important part of our host benefits and really important to include in host coaching as well. Okay, so again, this is Jennifer talking, and I think I totally agree with this. Remembering to contact your hosts weekly, really keeping things in front of her or him so that they don't kind of get distracted. This also can be a big help in cutting down on cancellations. If you book a show a month out, or sometimes even 2 or 3 months out, like if they're now saying they want to have a show in, after the holidays, well, that's great. Go ahead with that, but don't wait until January to contact them. Or I'm telling you, there's a good chance, Janine knows this, that show is not going to happen. If at all, it'll be February or March.
Yep.
Because especially when it's that far out, people, so just, email her a recipe, or, send a letter, with a, just a little bit of a funny card, or, whatever, just to be in touch with someone. And then certainly as you actually get to where you're planning the party, then you're, in touch with her about things that are more specific to actual host coaching. But that communication and connection with the host is really important. Okay, so this I thought was really cool and interesting. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't done this, but this is one from Jennifer Courtney, and her secret weapon apparently is videos. And what she's done, and I'll go on to the next one, is made videos about what's in the host packet, and then about what's going to happen and what to expect when she gets to the party. Now, I assume that she has made, these are not made specifically for each individual host. You know what I mean? So you don't have to make a new one every time. But because once it's a recorded video, you can send it to every host unless you decide you want to change something up. So basically, it's like doing a host coaching call, going through, here's some catalogs, and here's the thing that explains the host benefits, and, the invitations, whether she's handing or mailing them out herself, or you're sending that you need a guest list, however you do that. But I thought it was a really interesting idea to do that in the form of a video that you can email or send. Well, she says she sends it by Facebook Messenger, then you can see when they've seen the video. And then another one closer to time of the party when you're talking about, if they're getting the ingredients, having those ready, just kind of what to expect. So again, it's the sort of thing you might do on a phone call, but you can, record these and use them for, a whole bunch of different shows. So again, it's not something that has to be done every time, but I thought that was a really interesting way to just maybe get a little bit more attention, especially if you have trouble getting people on the phone, because you can email some of this stuff. But the fact is, if you want to go through the host packet, You're not going to do that in an email. It just would not work very well. You'd probably try to do it in a phone call, but sometimes people are just really hard to get on the phone. So doing it this way in a video makes it much easier, really, to go through something like that, the host packet phone call, without just typing out a big email that nobody's going to read anyway. So that, I think, is a really interesting idea, and I can see where it would have a big impact on the host.
Jill?
Yeah.
Is she doing that like it's the same video for every show?
I believe
like she
so.
pre-recorded it and it's okay. It's not
Correct.
specific to each individual party.
I don't see, and honestly, I'm not sure how she's doing it, but that's how I would do it, because there's no reason to. I mean, unless there was something, but I think you could make the video sort of generic enough that it wouldn't have to be made every time, because really it's the same call. The thing that makes a call like that different is when you're actually having a conversation with the host and you're responding to their questions and stuff. And you're not going to be doing that in the video no matter what. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing that really would make a call specific to the host. And so since you're removing that just by the fact of doing a video, then you could definitely just have a, this is my video about going through the host packet, and it's going to be the same. Maybe one for virtual and one for cooking shows or something like that. And you might, after a while, go, you know what, I think I want to do something differently, so I'm going to make a new video. But definitely wouldn't have to be a different one for every party.
Right, which would be time.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Restrictive. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do that.
So then she has something on here about tracking things. This I thought was also interesting. I'm going to post this in the Facebook group as well, because it's just too much information. But basically, she has this, she says on her calendar, I'm not sure what sort of a calendar she's using, but I thought it was cool that she does things like when she sends a packet, she puts an X. When she knows they received it, she circles it. When she texts them, she puts a T. When they've texted back, she circles it. Isn't that a great idea?
Where was this 14 years ago?
See, so video 1, you write V1. When they've watched it, circle it. I know, right?
It's awesome.
Really a great idea just for your personal, oh my gosh, did I do that? Did I not? So you know where you stand with each person. And again, going to that, have a system that's going to give you some consistency and make it simple. I mean, it's important to do these things, but it can't take over your life or you're not going to do it. I mean, it has to be something that you can kind of streamline and make it simple and practical, but, really give you something.
And consistent.
Yes, absolutely. Consistency is huge. And it makes it easier to do it when you do it consistently, because it becomes a routine and you're just accustomed to it, and it's a no-brainer when you're not having to rethink every time about, oh, what am I going to do? And did I do that or not? And what have you. So yeah, I thought this was kind of genius too. Yeah. So again, I'll post that in the group too, that slide. And, again, just really looking at host coaching as a partnership and making sure that that's how you approach it with your host and kind of treat things like that. So that was the skill pillar for the 4 pillars of success, and this week's focus on skill as it pertains to host coaching. And again, looking at some of the different things that you can do to, look at building up your own skills as well. And, using tools, your personal stories. This is all of the stuff too that we've talked about, these kind of things already. And skill, as it says here, really is the easiest pillar because it's very tangible and you can take really easy, concrete steps when it comes down to it to, learning. If there's something you feel like you don't have the skill at, we have more resources than we could ever use, really, from between Pampered Chef, the stuff on Consultants Corner, our own team stuff, YouTube trainings, everything like that. There's definitely no shortage of things that if you feel like you're kind of not as solid as you'd like to be or not getting the results that you want in any area, there's going to be some kind of training that will help with that. What did I do with my cursor here? There it is. All right, so your homework this week is related to host coaching. This is very light down here, but you're probably not pulling that off of here anyway, so it doesn't matter. This is an audio about host coaching, Lisa Noto and Michael Yoakley. Again, it's under the Peace University Host Coaching Peer Sharing and you'll find a great audio to listen to with some other host coaching. And of course, what you'll find is that theirs is not the same as Jennifer's. And I'm going to be putting in the Google Forms drawing slip thing, links to some other resources. This is the one that I really like you to focus on, then some other resources if you have an opportunity and want to explore a little bit more. And what you'll find is that when you're looking at really successful people in the company, there are a number of different ways that they're doing something like host coaching. So it's not that it has to be done a certain way. It really is important to do it from the standpoint of partnering with your host and communicating with them. The details of kind of how that plays out, different people do things differently. So you can kind of find what is working for you and what is comfortable for you, what you really feel like kind of flows and feels good. The really kind of the proof being in the results that you get. So when you're getting the results that you want, you've nailed it. If you're not, then you kind of back up a little bit and maybe start looking at some of these. So if you like some of Jennifer's stuff, go for it. You could use her entire system, or you could say, well, I think I'll do, a little bit of this and, kind of tweak it. Then you might listen to Lisa Noto and Michael Yoakley, find some things there, and just kind of put together a package of host coaching that does feel good and works within your, kind of your framework of running your business, and also gets the results that you want. So that's going to be your homework for this week. And then kind of the same thing. These are the things that we're going to talk about that are going to be on that form for you to fill out and then send back to me, and things for us to chat about as well when we talk later in the week. Now, before we completely wrap it up, we're going to jump back to last week when we talked about having a 20-second commercial. You remember that?
Yes. I gotta go.
Have you thought about that or come up with anything? It's okay if you haven't.
Yes and no.
Okay.
As far as in our party?
Well, like if somebody said, what do you do? Like if you were trying to in 20 or 30 seconds, and it could be at a party, it could be in the,
okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? At your kid's
Sure.
ball game. Just a way that, we had talked about last time, sort of saying what you do other than just saying, I'm a Pampered Chef consultant.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's okay if you hadn't. We'll bring that back up next week, and maybe you can give it a little bit of thought between
I
them.
thought you were going to show us your commercial.
Yeah, your 30-second commercial. What's that?
No, I thought you were going to show us yours.
Oh, mine.
Good call, Christina. Thank you.
Oh, geez. See, now you're making me pay for even bringing it up in the first place, right? Boy, that is tough because I feel like it changes all the time.
That's what I was thinking. Mine is going to change, probably periodically, like you said.
Yeah, it sort of just depends on what I'm kind of like focusing on.
Yeah.
But if somebody said, what, oh, well, what do you do? I'd say that I work from home, and I love that I get to, run an online business and have fun working with other people to, make their time in the kitchen easier, and work with a team of consultants to, help them to enjoy what they're doing too, or something along those lines. Because for me, my business is really about, the things that I love about it are the shows that I do, and the like sharing products with people, which really is so much fun. And I love that. I love the products myself, but equally for me is like working with you guys and our whole team and the stuff that, honestly, sometimes I'm working and I feel like, not that I have to do stuff, but that I get to do it. And that's a really, really cool place to be, when you're working and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to do this meeting with you guys tonight. And I'm working on that PowerPoint yesterday, and I enjoy doing it. I'm reading the information. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I can't wait to share it with these guys. And so I feel really kind of privileged to be able to do that. So when I talk to someone about my business, that inevitably is part of what I talk about, because because it certainly is part of it, and it's a part that I really love. So, not obviously that was not 30 seconds. I don't go into that whole spiel necessarily, but it's gonna be part of the picture, because it's, it wouldn't make sense not to have that, be part of explaining or describing what I do. So there you go.
I
I
have
know
a
it's not very smooth. Not as smooth as it should be.
question.
Yeah.
Well, Janine, do you recruit people also?
I have. I was a director at one time, and I am not currently, but I'm working on promoting again. I don't know how many people I've actually recruited over the last 14 years, but Jill
So-
might.
I don't offhand.
Do a lot of people get to that point, or like me? I just don't have like the recruiting bug. I just like doing the parties.
Uh-huh.
I like getting the products. I like sharing the products. I don't have, if I did anything to recruit somebody, I'd be like, well, I'm going to recommend you to Jill. I'm going to send you to Jill. I'll give her your number. But as far as joining my team,
Uh-huh.
my team would be like, here's Jill's number. So
So,
I'm just,
I'm
I don't know if anybody does it.
I'm curious to know what makes you say that, or
Because like people on all the pages that we have,
uh-huh.
everybody has like yours Let's Eat page or the VIP page, and like me, I don't got that. But I don't want to be like seem like I'm not giving my all. I just like doing the parties. I like eating the people. I like getting the gifts. I like sharing the products with everybody. I like trying to get to that next step in making the money.
Yeah.
And like literally, I only have one kid left at my house.
Uh-huh.
So
Well, here's what I would say. A couple things.
right.
One of them is that none of that stuff is required. Like that Let's See VIP group that I have is because I want to have that. Because I enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing stuff on the computer and, having that connection with people. Is certainly none of that is required. You know what I mean? So it's not a matter of, I wouldn't want that to feel like it's kind of hanging over your head. Like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be doing stuff, like it's a, sort of a burden, anything like that. So that part of it's fine. A couple of things I'd say about recruiting. One of them too is that as a pretty new consultant yourself, when you have somebody that decides they want to become a consultant and signs up with you, you are not then responsible for them in terms of their training and their success and all that kind of stuff, because you are not a director at this time. You certainly could be if you want to, but at this point you're not, and I am, and I would be their director, and I would do that with them and with you. And you're not expected to be like, oh my gosh, now I have to know everything and tell this person how to do everything. It's just, you know what I mean? That's what I'm there for, you see? So, hopefully you would feel comfortable working with somebody and say, because you know what they would need to know. You know how to order a kit. You just did it yourself last month. you know? So you know how to do that. You know how to do great virtual parties. Clearly you're doing a great job with that. There's a lot of stuff that you do know, more than you give yourself credit for, I would say, that you could be a very valuable resource for somebody. But outside of that, or in other things that maybe you're not feeling as experienced or comfortable with, there are a lot of other resources, beginning with me and then our whole team and the whole company and PC University and everything else. So it's certainly, my gosh, if we all waited till we knew everything to recruit anybody, their company would never have gone beyond the first 10 people, probably. Certainly Janine and I would not be directors. But the other part of it too is, I think, and this is a super important thing, is that recruiting, while certainly there is a benefit to the recruiter, particularly you build a team, you absolutely will make more income as a director. That's just, makes sense. It's like any other business. The more people you hire and bring in, the more money the business can do, right? So that makes sense. But the other thing is there's a huge benefit to the person that becomes a consultant too. And hopefully you feel that there has been for you personally. So if that's the case, then it also could be a real blessing for other people too. And so if we say, well, I don't want to recruit because I'm just really, that's not really not my thing. we are then in effect saying the people that are at my parties are not allowed to become consultants. They're not allowed to know about that.
I wouldn't say I'm against recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I do mention it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not something I'm focused on.
Right. And I understand, and that's understandable. And that, you know, when there's not a requirement for that at all, as far as, again, with your business, okay? We just want to make sure that your reservations, if you have reservations about it, don't limit somebody else, because we want to make sure that they have just as much of an opportunity to enjoy a business, regardless of who their consultant is, whether they're at your party or mine or Janine's. You know, we want to make sure that they are given information, that they're invited to check it out. Like we're talking with hosts, absolutely, our hosts. I mean, it's, you know, it's not uncommon to have someone who is a consultant and they said, boy, I've been going to shows for 5 or 10 years. No one ever asked me if I wanted to do this. And they would have probably started 5 years earlier had they known about it in some cases. You know, people that host, and, you know, they host in their 5th show, and this is the first consultant who asked if I wanted to take a look at this or if I ever thought about it. And just, that's just unfortunate, because that person could be missing out